The first 49ers preseason game is officially in the books. Feels like we could put the Super Bowl behind us. Got to see a lot of interesting things, but is there cause for concern? We'll talk about all of it. What is good, everybody? Welcome to the very first instant reaction show of 2024. The first preseason game is in the books. Niners fall to the Titans 17-13 score, of course, secondary when we're talking preseason. Happy to be here with you. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. Got to see almost everything I wanted to see tonight, to be honest with you. Was looking, first preseason game, I just want to see how much of the training camp hype holds up, right? Are the guys that we have been hearing about flashing when they're on the screen? Number one for me, the guy that we're hearing about was D. Winters, and let me say, he absolutely flashed tonight multiple times, making tackles for loss in the backfield, thumping Will Levis at the goal line when he was trying to run in, stopping him from scoring a touchdown. Of course, the play was ultimately ruined by Ambry Thomas, who committed a penalty that gave Tennessee a first down. But man, I'm not saying he was perfect. I'm saying I could see why people were saying D. Winters might be something, because he looked fast out there, explosive. He did not look overwhelmed. That was very, very encouraging. He got hurt, which gave me a scare because, he flashed a couple times. And then I was like, hey, they might have something with this D. Winters guy. And then all of a sudden, bam, he goes down. But luckily, he got back up. He went back in the game a couple plays later. It might have just been a groin shot, as they say. But nonetheless, he went back in and he looks like, okay, there might be something there, right? Like this isn't just us talking up a guy. It might actually be something with D. Winters. So I like that. What else did I like tonight? I didn't like the penalties for the 49ers. Sloppy penalties throughout the game. Really got bad late. Niners 8 penalties for 48 yards in the game. Didn't like that, as the Niners were trying to come back in the end. False start penalty kind of bit him in the ass. That's one thing I didn't like. What else did I like tonight? It's a good question. I liked the kickoff play, not the 49ers coverage of it, because the special teams are still shaky. But I like the 49ers kickoff play, or the kickoff play in general. The more I see it, the more I like it. Jordan Mason looking strong for this team. Jordan Mason was playing like a guy who knew that the backup running back job is on the line. He played like a guy that smelled blood in the water. 6 carries for 34 yards for JP Mason. Ho-hum, another 5.7 yards per carry. Had a nice, strong touchdown run on the 49ers' first possession of the game. Just looked like the Jordan Mason that we have come to know and love, really. And good for him, man. He's come a long way. He's spent $3,000 on a jugs machine, he said. Jordan Mason absolutely looks the part, and I'm so glad to see it because I love JP Mason. So beautiful. Good. I love Elijah Mitchell. He can't stay on the field. He's just not dependable at this point. So I think, it might be time to make that move. And I saw somebody suggest, maybe you could trade Elijah Mitchell to the Cowboys because they need a running back. I don't know if I would do that, but I would definitely like to see JP Mason back up Christian McCaffrey, of course, who didn't even travel with the team on the depth chart. Didn't love what I saw from my boy Cody Schrader, though. 5 carries, 6 yards. Not what I was hoping for. Let me just say that. Really, and not all of it was his fault, but not that I was expecting anything out of him. I was more just kind of interested to see if this 5'8", 200-pound guy that runs a 4.6 40 could actually, have success. And let's just say preseason game 1, not great. You know what else I liked in the game? And I can't believe I'm saying this. Brandon Allen looked pretty good for the 49ers. He played the whole first half, and he had his numbers don't jump out at you, 7 of 13 for 98 yards, but he had a couple of beautiful beautiful deep balls that were right in the hands of receivers that were dropped. Tay Martin dropped one, and Ronnie Bell, I believe, dropped one. But man, Brandon Allen looked pretty good out there. But Jason PDSI, thank you for the super chat. Says Brandon Allen looked decent from what I saw. Yeah, it didn't look like a world beater, but he looked solid, like competent, looked like he could throw it a little bit. I was definitely happy with what I saw from Brandon Allen. As Brisbee Life says, what, you're not saying you're missing Sam Darnold? No, Brisbee. Hell no. Hell no. And actually, Josh Dobbs did some things too. He was under pressure a lot, and that's one of the negatives that we can talk about. But Josh Dobbs, man, I'll say this. He stands strong in the pocket, and he doesn't just move. Like, he's an actual threat on the ground. He's big. He's powerful. You're not going to get a cheap shot to tackle him. Like, you got to get a good lick on him. He had a nice touchdown run where he kind of flipped into the end zone. Very, very cool. I liked both quarterbacks showed flashes of things that were at least signs of like, hey, if some of them has to play for any reason, like maybe they could still give us a shot to win. I think that has to be comforting as a 49er fan for sure. Andre Garibay says Pasternak can at least move. Yeah, plus he has the best nickname in the friggin' NFL for sure. Heineman says Pasternak is wild. Diego wants me to wear the Sam Darnold jersey. I will not. I fulfilled my obligation. I bought that stupid thing. I have worn it on the show multiple times, I might add. I have gone above and beyond that bet with Michelle Majuk. Levin Black is watching this show. Who's the hell is that? Levin says, Huff who? Brown and Mustafa got me wondering about Huff's future. Tig Brown made a couple plays. Malik Mustafa absolutely lit up a Titans running back on 4th and short in the red zone. Not only did he stop the touchdown, he stopped the first down. And if you watch the play, let me see if I can bring it up here. Because the cool thing for me was not only did he make the play, but if you look, he's the deepest 49er. I think he even starts the play in the end zone and just reads that it's a run and absolutely takes off like a missile and just stonewalls the running back. Let's see if I can bring it up here. If I could add it to the stream. You know what? I think I need to zoom in on I want to make sure people can actually see the play before I bring it in here. It was really impressive from Mustafa. Yeah, it's going to run back in a second here as you'll see him celebrating. And I said, well, there he is, back of the end zone, deepest player. And look, he just takes off as soon as the running back gets the ball, boom, and he decleats him and comes down just textbook right around the waist. Absolutely fantastic. And I said, if there was one 49er that I could choose to get tackled by, it would not be Malik Mustafa because the man looks like he's chiseled out of freaking marble, man. He looks like a monster. I absolutely would not want to get tackled by that guy. I did seem to me, and I don't know, let me know what you think. It seemed to me like the Niners safeties were doing a lot of talking pre-snap. Maybe it was later in the game that's sticking in my head more, but like, I don't want to say they were confused, but they were definitely communicating, let's just say. So we'll see. Wedge Antilli says, Rob, CJ Beathard was 7 of 14 for 125 yards and a touchdown. Kyle's golden boy. Yeah, maybe he'll make a trade. Kaylee Miller, there you go. Says Malik Mustafa is an absolute unit. 1,000%. Thank you, Kaylee. Shout out to you, YouTube channel member. Shout out to all the YouTube channel members. If you want to become one, please do. It's less than $3 a month. You get perks. You get priority comment response. It's a great way to support the channel. Please and thank you. John O'Brien says, Rob, disagree on Winners. Made a play or two, but he looked overmatched in the passing game, got blown out on too many runs, and finished looking tired. I gave him a thumbs down. There was a play action where he absolutely got cooked. He was completely fooled. His receiver was his guy was the tight end, and if the quarterback threw it on time, it would have been a big play, but the quarterback like double pumped. I think it was Mason Rudolph, threw it late and threw it near the sideline, and the tight end ended up not being able to get his feet in bounds. But that absolutely would have been a big play. Look, he wasn't perfect, John. I'm not trying to say he was perfect, but he looked fast. He looked like he's got potential. That's all. He looks like, to me, he's got potential. But by no means did he play perfect. Absolutely not. But again, you're talking about a guy who's essentially in his rookie year because he didn't really do anything last year. So, you know, he's going to make some mistakes out there. That play action was a perfect example. But to me, what I wanted to see is like, is there a reason that people were talking this guy up at camp, or did he just make a couple of good plays against some scrubs that the Niners had? And to me, I thought, okay, there's good reason for talking him up. That's all I'm saying. Dave 184 Infantry, YouTube channel member, says Mustafa for president. I'm glad to be back for a live stream after a bit. Yeah, thank you. If you're coming back after a while, look, I get it. The Super Bowl was painful, but I have to say, I did feel like when the game kicked off, like, okay, we can bury the Super Bowl a little bit. Like I felt like we've moved forward. It still hurts. Obviously, it's always going to hurt, but I was like, we're in this year now. It's about this year. We don't have to keep looking back and talking about that. I felt like that. I don't know if anybody else did. Twitch GG says, how was Mustafa in coverage? Could see him getting snaps in the nickel linebacker role. Linebackers have tendencies of being converted safeties. Honestly, I can't pretend like I can grade Mustafa in coverage. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what people say when the game comes out. I don't want to pretend like I know, so I don't want to say. Frank Darby, I'm not going to lie. The game was going on, and I'm like, who the hell is number 9 out there? And I saw he had a big catch and run, and I was like, damn, Frank Darby. I don't know who you are, but I'm glad you're here. He made a play. I liked it. Oh, I'm seeing this on Twitter, and I meant to bring this up. I apologize. This was the first time, according to the broadcast, in 148 games that Kyle Shanahan allowed somebody else to call plays. Kubiak was calling plays. It wasn't Kyle Shanahan, and I'm fascinated by that. Now, maybe he just wanted to get his guy some experience, because that's sort of the bugaboo with offensive coaches coming out of Kyle's system, is they never call plays because Kyle always calls everything. So I was really interested to see. I want to know why, actually, Kyle switched it up. Maybe it was a new experience for Kyle where he could just kind of like take a deep breath and just sort of look at the bigger picture during a game. I'd be fascinated to know what the experience was like for him. But I would like to know why, and I hope somebody asks him about it after the game. Wedge Antilles says, Rob, Burrows, Mahomes, and Lawrence all played snaps today. Would you have played Brock for a series? I would have, frankly. Like, there's no reason, you have to protect Brock Purdy. You could play him for a series and get him out of there, even if he handed off a few times. Like, I would have played him, yeah. Like, we don't need to just, put everybody in a little glass bubble here. You could have played Brock. Kyle didn't, whatever. There's still 2 other games. But, yeah, I would have played him. Heineman says, didn't know they have a tight end named Tongues. Yeah, he had a nice play. A couple plays on the final drive, too, I believe. Brisbee Life says, Kyle didn't call plays because he wanted to vibe for a week. I like that. Maybe he did. Hell, I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to chill and take it easy. I wouldn't blame him. Look, it's super stressful for him, too. I know we like to bash him or whatever, but, like, you've seen how the job has aged him. That it happens because it's stressful and it's a lot of work. So I could understand if he was like, you know what? Forget it. Let's let somebody else call plays. It's the first preseason game. Maybe he felt like if he could not call plays, he could kind of evaluate the guys more on the field during the game. I don't know. Oh, God, this is a good question. Wayfarer Rider. Why the hell is Trent Taylor returning punts? Can we at least try in the preseason? Look, Trent Taylor, I'm sorry, man. He has no juice whatsoever. Like, he's not an NFL player. He's just not. These kick returns, man, there's nothing. The only thing Trent Taylor does is catch the ball and hang on to the ball. That's it. He will never give you a big return. He'll never burst through the line that forms there on the new kickoff. He's just there to catch the ball and go down. Excuse me as I take a drink. I'm all set with Trent Taylor. And I think their plan is to use Debo and Juice back there on kick returns in the regular season, which I'm fine if they don't want to do it now. But this idea that, like, oh, Trent Taylor's such a good return guy to have. No, he's not, man. No, he's not. If all you want is somebody that's not going to fumble, then just don't put anybody back there on punt returns. Just rush the punter every time and let the ball fall where it may. If you don't have anybody back there to return a punt, there's a 0% chance you're going to fumble. And if that's all you care about, then do that. I don't need to see Trent Taylor back there. But as Heineman says, Kyle loves vets like Trent Taylor. Yeah, he does. He loves them. He absolutely loves them. And by the way, we haven't gotten to it yet. Thumbs down. 49ers special teams. Oh, my God. First kickoff return, they give up a 63-yarder. Ugh. First punt return, they give up a 26-yarder. Like, how many years do we have to see the special teams kick and punt coverage? Suck it up. It's terrible year after year. And look, if you want to say the kickoff return is new, whatever, that's fine, and that's true. Get it fixed by the regular season. That's all I'm saying. Get it fixed by the regular season. And if it becomes a problem and they can't get it fixed, then just kick it into the end zone every time and give them the ball at the 30. I don't care that they get, the extra yardage. Do it. Because you can't sacrificing field position because you can't cover a kick return. You just can't. Jesse Naylor's here. What up, Jesse? He says, Pearsall is this team's best punt returner, in my opinion. He may be the guy. Interesting. Another guy that didn't travel with the team because he's got the shoulder. That would be interesting. I have no idea if he's any good at it. I've never seen him return a punt. I don't know, but anybody's better than Trent Taylor, man. Damn. It's interesting, though. I haven't heard a lot about Pearsall on punts, maybe because he's only finished 6 of the 13 practices the team has had. We'll have to see. Jedi says the writing is on everyone's wall. If you're in this chat, it's on the wall somewhere in your house. All right. Not really sure what that means, but that's fine. Brisbee Life says you might be able to play it safe on punt returns, but this new kickoff return system is going to make it critical. You get some big plays on that. Like, you should be able to. That's why look, if Debo's in there, could be a totally different thing. Let's be honest. Like Debo and Trent Taylor, yeah, not quite the same. So let's reserve judgment until we see that. But I didn't like what I saw tonight. Valerie with an excellent point. Thank you, Valerie. The tackling tonight was not good, just as a whole. Ambry Thomas had a bunch of whiffs, and I know he got carted to the locker room with a forearm, and they ruled him out early, so we may never see Ambry Thomas again. And I don't mean to kick him when he's down, but he was awful tonight. He was bad. But in general, I thought there were just a lot of missed tackles, a lot of screens early that went for big plays too. I mean, in the game, Tennessee had no trouble converting on third down, 9 of 17 on third down in the game. And not all those were throws past the sticks. A lot of those were short throws where guys would break tackles and gain first downs. I thought the tackling from the first quarter to the fourth quarter was just not good anymore. A lot of Ambry Thomas dislike, let's say, in the chat. Ambry is not an NFL player. Kaylee Miller says, I wouldn't be sad if we didn't see him again. Get well soon, Ambry, and I wish you the best of luck. Just not in San Francisco anymore. Sorry. Some people are saying that the offensive line was not good. At the end of the game, the offensive line was not good. At the beginning of the game, however, I was very impressed with the offensive line. One of the things I was watching was in must-pass situations, third and long especially. How do they look? And I thought they held up very well. They allowed Brandon Allen some time to make some deeper throws down the field. Even on the couple of the throws that were incomplete, the offensive line was providing a nice pocket for him. I was watching Dominick Puni. To me, he did not look like he was getting overwhelmed. He looked like he was anchoring well. I saw one comment that, he was kind of playing a little high at times, getting too high out of his stance, especially like when he was on the move. Okay. But I mean, damn, man, he did not look overwhelmed at all. To me, I was like, he's another guy where it's like, okay, he was getting hyped up in training camp and stuff. And then when I watched him with my own eyes, that matched up. I could see why people were hyping him up. I don't know if he's going to be a starter right now, right out of the gate, but I definitely liked what I saw from Dominick Puni, 100%. And I thought the offensive line played well. Banks was in there to start the game, so you had a starter in there. I believe it was McKivitz, Puni, Nick Zakel started the game at center, I believe. So I actually liked the offensive line early in the game. Pass blocking and run blocking. Obviously, I talked about Jordan Mason, how he was good early in the game. So that was a positive for me. Now, later in the game, it was terrible. Like Tennessee was just blitzing, and they were getting pressure every single time on Dobbs. Even on his touchdown, he broke through. He broke a tackle and ran for the touchdown, but it wasn't. It was just basically all him because the offensive line didn't hold up at all. I know Kyle is at the podium now. If he comments on why he wasn't calling plays, let me know because I can't stream. I would love to stream it live, but Kaylee and others, Andre Garibay says too, pay Trent Williams whatever he wants. Yeah, it's obvious. I mean, I know they looked good tonight, but they ain't Trent Williams. So hopefully that gets done soon. 808 Niner YouTube channel member says Puni looked good. Green was good in coverage, but he needs work on his tackling. Mustafa looks raw, but he flies around. Tay Martin looked good. 3 flashed, and JP Mason needs to be second string. I agree, Mustafa. Like raw is probably a good way to put. Maybe Mustafa and Winters raw. Good ability, but maybe some fine tuning that could be done there. Renardo Green recovered a nice fumble, showing a little heads up play there. I think Renardo Green can be good in man coverage, but it also depends on litigious, let's say, how flag oriented the officials are, because he's a very physical guy. So if you got guys that like to throw flags, then Renardo Green may be a little bit of a liability. Levin says Ambry Thomas broke his forearm. Ouch. Not ideal. We're not going to be seeing Ambry Thomas, I don't think, ever again. Unfortunate for Ambry. I was hoping, he could turn it around, but he looks like he's just another one of those third-round picks that just did not really, he flashed. He had like a few weeks where you were like, hey, Ambry Thomas is starting maybe to kind of put it together. But for the most part, when I think of Ambry Thomas, I think of a guy just flailing his arms with the ball in the air in good position, but no ball skills whatsoever. And yeah, it's just not going to work for sure. 49ers Breakdown says Kalia Davis impressed. He had a nice tackle for loss on a run play. He actually think he had a couple tackles for loss in the game. He flashed a little bit. I can't speak to overall, but I definitely saw him pop a couple of times. So good, because that's a guy that they, waited out the torn ACL that he was recovering from. He did end up with 2 tackles for loss in the game, had a quarterback hit as well, had a sack. Kalia Davis, there you go. They could certainly use him on the inside because you got Javon Hargrave and Jordan Elliott. And yeah, I would like to see a little more depth there on the interior of the defensive line. Is Kyle saying anything else interesting that's jumping out to people? Let me know. Again, I'm not allowed to broadcast it live. Kyle Shanahan chuckled when asked about the kick interference on the Titans' big return in the first quarter. What happened? Shanahan got distracted watching film on the tablet and didn't realize he was partially standing on the field. Oh, I didn't realize that he got that penalty. I saw they moved it up. I was watching the Titans broadcast, and they didn't say why they moved it up. So, he got a return interference. That's funny. Come on, Kyle. Button it up. No comment on the play. Was he asked about the play calling, and he chose to say no comment? Because if he did, damn, that would suck. That would make it more interesting for me, honestly. Like, okay, why would you not want to comment on that? It was brought up. Interesting. Oh, it wasn't brought up. It wasn't brought up. Why was it not brought up? That's a huge thing to ask. He wasn't calling plays for the first time ever. Why not? Oh, wait. Fish and Chip says he said he wanted Clint to do it. Did he say why? I'll have to go back and watch it, but I hope they ask him about it. It's interesting. Kyle, sometimes, we talk about like who's he like, who's he not going to like. Sometimes guys have great games and Kyle's like kind of lukewarm on them. And sometimes we think guys will have a bad game and Kyle will actually talk them up a little bit. So I'm interested to see who he talks up after this game. Let me just take a look at more of my notes. Ronnie Bell was the other returner back on the kickoffs for Trent Taylor. It seems like the 49ers just want to use that other person as a lead blocker, which is why, again, I think it's going to be Juice and Debo once the season actually gets underway. Another thing in my notes, Titans offense making it look easy. Yeah, they scored on their first 2 possessions, and they didn't really punt until late in the game, too. Now, I think they had some of their starters in too, more of their starters in the 49ers, but still, the penalty situation I already talked about. I've written many mean things about Ambry Thomas that I don't want to read now because I feel bad because he has a broken forearm. I did see one play where I wonder, it was right after the 2-minute warning in the second quarter where Tennessee brought some extra blockers on a blitz, and I couldn't tell if Dominick Puni was confused because he blocked the guy and then he kind of turned and ran to get another guy, and I couldn't figure out, like, did he block the wrong guy at first and then he was trying to make up for it, or did he block his guy and then just try to pick up somebody else, like looking for extra work? I couldn't tell, but that was one thing I wanted to check up on. I'll have to go back and watch it and see if people say about it. Cody Schrader did have a 14-yard run that was negated by a Ronnie Bell penalty. Ronnie Bell, man, I didn't think he was going to make the roster, and then the Niners had all these injuries at receiver, and people were like, hey, maybe Ronnie Bell can. I don't know. I just don't think he's going to make it, to be honest with you. Kyle Shanahan said there were 23 players missing from the team's most recent practice on Thursday. My goodness. What is going on with the injuries in this team? 23 players before the first preseason game. They suffered a long-term injury tonight. Ambry Thomas broke his forearm. Team hoping to get several players back in time for their joint practices with the Saints on Thursday and Friday. We know Kyle loves the joint practices. I did see Christian McCaffrey said he feels great, and if they had a game, he would, like a real game, he would have played. So that's obviously exciting. But yeah, man, the injury bug. I mean, we haven't even started games yet, and 23 guys. Think about that. That's every player on your starting offense and every player on your starting defense, right? It's only 11 on each side of the ball. That would be 22 guys, and they have 23 guys missing. That is wild. But other than Ambry, it looks like they escaped out of this game relatively unscathed, which is always good. That's the biggest thing. That's a win, despite what the final score says. That's the biggest win tonight. But damn, I hope they're just like Knicks and, not big things with everybody else. But holy hell, 23 people. I don't want to say it, but it does give you vibes of a certain season after the 49ers lost the Super Bowl. And you all know what I'm talking about. Let's hope we don't end up back in that territory for sure. Andre says Pearsall needs to be out there. It's insane. Yeah, I was really hoping we would see Pearsall. Was Cowing hurt? I don't remember seeing Jacob Cowing on the field. Did he not play? He didn't have a stat in the game. I don't know if he was hurt, but damn, I was hoping to see Jacob Cowing too. Like, come on, let's see some of these rookies, man. It's fun when your team drafts a receiver. It's like a new toy that you want to take out of the box, but they actually have to get on the friggin' field. A lot of Jan says Tay Martin made multiple contested catches. I'd keep him before Bell. Yeah, I don't think Bell is gonna make it. To me, he's got practice squad written all over. Remember, you can keep 18 guys on your practice squad now, so it's way more than it had been a few years ago. They boosted it up. Everybody seems to like that because it's like an extension of your roster. So to me, he's got practice squad written all over him, to be honest with you. Cowing is a lingering hamstring, Diego says. Yeah, man. What's with the soft tissue injuries? Come on, people. Get a massage. Do what you got to do here. Let's knock these friggin' soft tissue injuries out of here. Andre says the rookies need to show what they have and get some work in. I totally agree. Jason Kime says, also hoping we have a true second blocking tight end. We can run more jumbo sets. Looks like Saubert seems to have that position locked down. He only had one catch for 6 yards tonight on one target. Cam Latu, 2 catches for 12 yards. Hey! Braden Willis, 1 target, 0 catches. The target to Braden Willis was a screen pass that looked like it was set up beautifully, but Brandon Allen kind of had to lob it over some incoming rushers, and he just couldn't quite get it close enough to Willis to connect. But if he had caught that, it was going to go for a big play. I saw that, and I actually wrote that down. I was kind of ticked off because I wanted to see, let's see him with the ball in his hands, because he was another guy that I'd heard good things about, but didn't really get to see at least any offense. Brisbee Life says, picks for Michigan not looking good right now. Yeah, Ronnie Bell and Ambry Thomas. Yee. Andre says, seems like year after year, these rookies don't play in the preseason. I know, and Kyle loves to say how much he values practice more than the preseason games. I don't know how much I believe that. He might value practice more, but the preseason games still matter to them and to him. He always talks about how he likes to see guys out there. He likes to see if the lights are too bright. You want these guys to be able to get in early. They're all going to screw stuff up. They're going to make dumb mistakes. You'd much rather have them make those mistakes in the preseason when it doesn't really matter, and speed up their development so that when the regular season comes along, they're further along that path. Maybe they don't make as many dumb mistakes in the regular season. So, yeah, I want to see all these guys out there as much as possible. Cynthia says, hey, Rob. Hey, Cynthia. I don't like the fact that the Niners lost their preseason game and my husband's team won theirs. Look, tell your husband if he can celebrate preseason championships all he wants. What matters is what happens when the real games start, all right? Last time we saw the Eagles, they were getting their butts kicked by the Buccaneers in the playoffs after watching their season circle the damn drain because their head of security got kicked off the sideline. So don't worry about the Eagles, Cynthia. That's all I'll say. Oh, man, I don't know how to say this name. Kawachipto says, what the rookies who aren't hurt all played. Right, but what about the ones that were hurt? That's what I'm saying. I want to see him out there, dude, especially Pearsall. I was hoping we would get a Brandon Ayuk update. Did not see anything about Brandon. I know he didn't travel with the team. I was hoping, maybe the Niners would like, hey, we got a preseason game. We're back. And oh, by the way, Brandon Ayuk signed. That would have been pretty good. Unfortunately, we wait. All right, let's do some game balls here. Who gets your game ball from tonight's game? If I had to give it to somebody, I think I'm going to give it to Brandon Allen. Again, I know the numbers don't look good, 7 of 13 for 98 yards, but I was impressed by Brandon Allen, especially because, there were times last year I heard some not good things about him, and we all kind of expected Josh Dobbs to come in and be the backup quarterback, and maybe not. Maybe it's going to be Brandon Allen. So I'm going to give my game ball to him. If I got to pick one out on defense, I think I'm going to go Kalia Davis, to be honest with you. I didn't realize he had as good a night as he had. Like I said, I can't really grade D Winters on any coverage stuff. I can only sort of grade the plays that he made or didn't make when it came to tackling and being sort of a focal point. So I'll give it to Kalia Davis on the defensive side for the 49ers, which, like I said, if that's real, if that's a thing, that'll be a massive, massive boost because that's one of the shallower areas on the team. Jair Brown looks pretty good too, man. I have to say. I know on the touchdown, I think it was the second touchdown that Tennessee scored, somebody screwed up ahead of him, and so he tried to overcompensate and make up for that person's screw up and ended up taking a bad angle on Sharp, and the touchdown scored. But I like Tig Brown. I like the things he's saying off the field about being a leader, being vocal, stepping up. I think you feel comfortable with his spot in the secondary. Like if it's Brown and Hufanga, assuming Hufanga can get back, I would feel very comfortable with that as the safety position. I'd be really intrigued by that because those guys are always around the ball, man. I know they're not perfect in coverage, but they seem to always be around the ball and make big plays. So I would like to see that. Diego Figueroa says the punter was kind of good. Well, the first punt that he had, Presley Harvin, he crushed. It was like, I think it was 61 yards. It was either the first or the second punt. But then he had a 30-yard punt later in the game. And Charles Davis, who was actually on the call for the Titans broadcast, was like, yeah, that's his problem. He can crush it one time, but then in the worst possible spot, he shanks one off the side of his foot. And he did have a 30-yard punt later in the game. So get well, Mitch Wishnowski. It seems like he'll be back sooner rather than later. He's the holder. Like he's holding for juice in practice, so he can't be that hurt. Levin says, Kyle said nothing new when asked about BA, said it's still all options, but he hopes he's back. Thank you, Levin. I appreciate that. He can watch the show, but apparently he can't co-host the show. Just throwing that out there, I know like people like to give Levin his flowers. I'm just saying he's watching the show. He could be co-hosting the show and he could be keeping the money from the super chats, but he ain't. He's in the comments. I'm here with you. Just saying, when you think of your favorite gold standard hosts, when you speak of me, speak well. So first preseason game down, Ambry Thomas suffers a major injury, which sucks for him. But let's be honest, he wasn't going to be a major factor in the 49ers plans. So if he's the only injury coming out of tonight, that's the biggest headline. Headline number 2 for me is why Kyle Shanahan wasn't calling plays. I want to know more about that. Maybe it's just to get somebody else calling them. I don't know. I just think it's really interesting. I feel like we could dig a little deeper there. Was he kind of feeling it out? Like, hey, maybe I need to pull back the reins a little bit. Maybe I need to be able to delegate, or at least maybe for part of the game, what if Kyle Shanahan is like, hey, you know what? You take over, call these plays. I got to focus on whatever. Maybe I saw something on defense that I want to go talk to our defense about, whatever the case may be. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I think it's a very interesting thing, and I want to know more about that. That to me would be headline 2. Headline 3, I'd probably say Jordan Mason. He looked solid. I think we love Elijah Mitchell, but I think most of us are at the point now where it's like, all right, JP Mason has played. He's played well for a while. He's put in his time. It's time to reward him a little bit and move him up to RB2. And then think about it. If Elijah Mitchell's your RB3, that's a damn fine running back room. Like that is a deep, solid running back room that you feel really good about. Jason Kime says, Kyle could benefit from someone else not turtling near the end of the half most games. He went for it on 4th down. I saw it. I was happy about it. I was like, damn, man, if you can't go for it on 4th down in the preseason, you're never going to go for it ever. What is this? Golden Nuggets? Golden Dragon is saying that what are you just throwing stuff in the chat? Don't throw stuff in the chat like that and get me all riled up. John O'Brien says, Puni gets a game ball for sure. He's going to be good. He looked solid. Again, I don't want to like go overboard, but he certainly didn't look bad out there. And we've seen some bad offensive line play by the 49ers in the preseasons recently. So if he looks solid, man, I'm telling you, if he could just be at least league average or maybe even a little better this year, that'll be a massive, massive boost to the offensive line, especially if it's a must-pass situation. He did not look overwhelmed. He looked solid, man. And for like Brock, that's got to be like a load off, because I don't know, like I don't care how mentally tough you are. When you see a guy and you get pressure from one area again and again and again, it does screw up your timing and it does mess with your head a little bit. So it'd be nice if he could just kind of have just that extra beat, because Kyle's going to get somebody open. Let's be honest. So if that could be an improvement for the Niners, that would be a massive, massive success. And to get that guy in the third round, too. Think about that. If you can get a starter on your offensive line in the third round, then you got a cheap player outperforming their contract at a good position for you for 3-4 years. Yes, please. Niners need more of that going forward. That's why you were hoping to see Ricky Pearsall tonight, to see if they could get really good production out of a wide receiver. So you'd have a good young player that wasn't making top of the market money. You're going to need those if you're going to continue this winning. If you're going to continue the standard that the 49ers love to talk about, you're going to have those guys come out of the draft and play well. Fish and Chips says, at least one rookie needs to make the field. Why not Puni? So I was saying, and I think I said this with Jason Aponte, you have to get at least 2 starters out of this draft. Like if you could get 2 starters, that would be a massive, massive home run win of the draft. If you've got one with Puni, great. The question is, where's the other one going to come from? And I don't think you could say with any sort of comfortability right now that they found 2. You want to go Puni, that's great. Renardo Green, I don't know. I'm not willing to say that yet. I'm not willing to say it about Mustafa. Pearsall wouldn't be a starter unless Ayuk was no longer on the team. And even then, he might not start. It would probably be Jennings. Although third wide receiver is basically a starter, so maybe you could go there. But yeah, if you could get one more, that would be a home run draft. Absolute steal of a draft. I'm just looking at the Niners drafted players now. Did not see anything from Robert Beal. I don't even know if they called Robert Beal's name once. And that was somebody that I was kind of looking forward to seeing. But, I think I kind of bought into the hype when they were hyping him up after he was drafted. He did have 3 tackles in the game, 3 solo tackles. I don't remember any of them, to be honest with you. Somebody said it's going to be Drake Jackson. That's just mean, man. Come on. John O'Brien says, I don't like either quarterback that played. If Brock gets hurt, we're in trouble. Starters may cover up some of the deficiencies, but look, Kyle talked about it. Others have talked about it. If your backup quarterback has to play for any extended period of time, yeah, you're in trouble. Like nobody has like a starting quality backup quarterback. What you want in your backup is a guy that if he has to come in during a game, can at least give you a chance to win. And if he's got to start for a game or 2 after that, cannot lose the game for you. That's what you just want, a guy that won't lose it for you, turning it over, missing wide open guys, stuff like that. That's all you want out of your backup quarterback. Nobody has another guy just sitting there. It's like, well, if our starter was gone for the season, none of our expectations for the season's change because we have this guy. Like, that's just not realistic. Stephen Byer says Puni looked great in pass pro, but lost in the run game at times. Zakelj looked awful at times. Yeah, I think if Zakelj was going to flash, I think we would have seen more of it by now. Look, Puni might have had some plays where he wasn't great. I'm not going to pretend like I can analyze every snap of the offensive line, but you're not asking for perfection, right? Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. And so I think you have to walk away from it as a net positive. Oh, Jesse Naylor says, beg to differ. Jimmy G is a backup, sir. He's going to I heard he might get cut, believe it or not, which would be, on the one hand, Kyle Shanahan's legacy gets a boost because you're like, you made a Super Bowl with that guy. But on the other hand, it's like this guy gets cut and you chose him over Tom Brady. So it's like, I don't know how much credit we want to give Kyle for that, but damn. It would be fascinating to see, what if Jimmy Garoppolo was a free agent? Would the 49ers sign him to be like a backup or a third string quarterback? Probably not, because I think by the end they were just done. They didn't like how he ghosted them in the offseason. But Kyle does have his favorite. I guess Jimmy's not in that circle of trust. But Kyle does have his favorites. Frisbee Life said odds on the Niners bringing him back at some point. Exactly. Joseph Facio says it's preseason game number 1. Let's pump the brakes a bit. This defense is going to be better this year. Best secondary Kyle has probably had. I agree with you. I think it is the best secondary Kyle's had. And I think the defense has a chance to be really better than last year in a lot of ways. I didn't love the run defense tonight at times, but a lot of key guys were not playing for the 49ers. So it's hard to judge, but certainly the backup unit could have been better against the run. And honestly, I think a lot of it is just tackling better. It's not necessarily like getting totally blocked off the ball. It's just when you have a chance to bring the damn guy down, bring him down. Cynthia says Jimmy G's made his millions. He can do great at modeling now. I don't know. He's got a little more gray now. It's not quite the study was when he was in San Francisco. I'll say that. Yeah, Steven says great secondary, but the run defense was barf city. Yeah, it was not ideal. Also, the Titans had their starters in at running back too. So just take a deep breath there. Take that with a grain of salt as well. I'm not seeing anything else super fascinating that Kyle Shanahan said after the game, other than the Ambry Thomas thing. And we don't have any major injuries, so I think I'm going to call it a show. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please rate, review, and follow the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We'll be live after every game with an instant reaction show. Obviously, as we get closer to the season, there'll be much more to break down. These shows will be a lot longer, to be honest with you. But we're back. We made it. First preseason game in the books. We are moving forward with 2024. We are not looking back at 2023 anymore. If this is your first time catching the show, we appreciate it. Give us a follow. I promise you, we will continue to earn your time. I'm on all the socials at Stats on Fire. Hit me up anytime you want to talk. Love to talk ball. DMs are always open. Enjoy the rest of your night and your weekend, everybody. We'll talk on Monday.